Hi, I am educational reporter Brian Figueroa, and today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic, which is feedback and error correction. So let's get to it. Now, when it comes to feedback and error correction, I have noticed that a lot of teachers find it very difficult on finding ways to provide meaningful feedback to their students. But there is one approach that I found very interesting, and it is said to be one of the most effective approach on providing feedback. This approach is called self-correcting approach. Now the name says it all. Self-correction approach is an approach that allows your students to correct their own mistakes or errors. Now this can be a kind of difficult approach to implement in your class because the students are always used to the teacher checking and correcting their work. So to encourage your students to do this part of the job may be a little bit difficult, but it is not impossible. So the teacher will have to try very hard to encourage the students to correct their own mistakes before turning in their assignment. This way the students will develop a lot of responsibility and become more independent. There are many aspects in order to teach this approach, in order to be successful. For example, now if you want to encourage your students to implement the self-correction approach, you have to make sure that the assignment is related to the topic. In other words, you need to make sure that your students know what they are seeing. You can't do an assignment that has nothing to do with what they have seen. Now, another way to encourage is to implement the self-check in the instruction. This way the students know that they have to do it, and this is part of the assignment. You can also provide a checklist which contains the most common mistakes in the students. This way they know where to have extra carefulness. And finally, you can also refuse to grade papers that have not been self-checked. You can also encourage your students to self-correct their assignments by the uses of correcting codes. Now you may wonder what is correcting codes. Well, this is very simple. The correcting code is a list of grammatical items. Now what you do with these items is the interesting part. So the teacher will use these items in order to indicate where the error is. This way, the students will identify their mistakes and correct them. So these codes or symbols will help them identify faster where their mistake is. The list of symbols that you can use are right here. Finally, another way to encourage your students is by peer correction. Now in peer correction, they don't essentially check their own assignment, but they check their partner's assignment. So this is very simple. You make them interchange their assignments so they can correct someone else's and then give them back, and they can see the feedback that they receive from another partner. So as you saw through the whole video, the self-correction approach is an excellent way to provide meaningful feedback to your students. Why? Because they themselves correct their own work. So they don't receive the answer from another person. They get to analyze and learn from their mistakes.